zero actually mean? And is it a goal worth pursuing? Well, here to talk with me about that is Amy Shepard from Sensible Money. Amy, welcome.
Hi, Bob. Thanks so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. And I know this is a favorite book of yours. You talk to clients about this book all the time. And I'm curious, what does it mean to die with zero?
It's a great question. Yeah, a client actually recommended the book to me. I read it and then have since probably sent it to at least a dozen clients. But what it means is, I think, up for some interpretation. My interpretation of it is like really to stop and smell the roses, like to enjoy the journey of life and not always be so focused on like, oh, I have to make sure I'm saving for later. Oh, I have to say no to this because it's going to cost too much money. And I have to make sure I have this money saved for my golden years or whatever people think of it. So, I don't think it really means like dying with nothing to your name. But I think what it means is just finding balance, making sure you are enjoying the journey, you're enjoying life today, but also, balancing that with making sure you are still, able to have a successful financial future.
Yeah. And how do you apply it by chance?
Well, so the intention when I read the book, I work, with retirees. And so a client shared it with me. They are getting ready to retire. And then when I read the book, that was the main lens I read it through was I'm a retirement planner. How can I use this book to better serve my clients? So, that's the main thing that I apply it to is working with clients and helping them understand like when do they know they have enough financially saved to be able to not worry. And then how can we translate that in that idea of knowing you have enough to, not worrying and actually enjoying this next chapter of your life. And so that's, my work day is really where I apply it, but you can't read the book and then not apply it to your personal life. Obviously, I'm not anywhere near retirement quite yet, but in my personal life, it has impacted me quite a bit because that same advice I give clients, I apply it to my own life. And I think I see it most with my family. We have 3 kids, 8 and under, and I always try to remind myself, like, when can I say yes to taking advantage of an opportunity with my family? Yes, I, of course, want to make sure I save enough for my own retirement, but not at the cost of, like, missing my kids' childhood.
Yeah. The book mentions something called memory dividends. What's that about?
The memory dividends idea was one of my favorite things I read in the book. So it's this idea that, if you picture yourself when you're 90, you're sitting on a rocking chair and you're thinking back over your life, most people are not going to sit there and think, man, I'm really glad my portfolio averaged 9%. They're going to sit there and think back on the life they lived. They're going to think back on, did I do enough with my spouse? Did I do enough with my children? Did I enjoy life enough? Did I say yes to things that brought me joy and made me smile? And that's really the idea of memory dividends is, as you get older and you get towards the end of your life, the thing that matters most is not the returns in your portfolio, but it's the memories you created in the life that you live.
Yeah. A lot of times people often say, I never go to my grave thinking I wish I had worked more or whatever the case may be, right? Something like that.
Yeah. That's, I think, a really good concept. Yeah.
Yeah. What about this notion of dying with zero almost implies that you're not going to leave an inheritance to your children, which is something that people always say, I'd like to leave something behind.
Yeah. Yeah. So can be a tough one. So the way I think about it is, again, it's not truly to die with nothing left, but the idea of an inheritance specifically is like, yes, if you pass away, you have money left and it goes to your kids, that's great. But what if there's so much left? And then again, that like translates to, man, all this money left at the end was life missed out. And so in the book, they talk a lot about spending that inheritance while you're living, doing family vacations, helping adult children when they need it. We all know how expensive housing is right now. A lot of people are helping their adult children with down payments or buying new appliances. And so it's really this idea of rather than waiting until you die to give the money to your kids, why not, or your loved ones, why not see them enjoy it when you're living if you can.
Yeah. I'm also reminded of how oftentimes people retire and then at the end of their lives actually have more money at the end than when they started retirement, in part because they didn't enjoy their money. And if they could give it away while they were alive, maybe they don't have to worry about not having an inheritance, right? They've already given their inheritance away over the course of their life.
Yeah. Yeah. And they can see the impact it has on people. That's, I think, one of the big things in the book too, is like they mention, when you have, if you have the resources and you can see an impact, like helping with a down payment or sending a kid or a grandkid to college, like you actually get to see the help that gives to somebody else, which I think, feels a lot better than wondering what's going to happen after you're gone.
Yeah. So what about some of the common criticisms of the book and how do you address them?
Yeah, I think a big one is when people take it literally. Again, that idea of really dying with zero. I do not take it literally. I would never advocate for somebody to truly aim for having, the last check bounce, as they say. But that's one of the biggest critics, is like it encourages people to be more frivolous. I don't see it that way. I think it's really important to have balance. That is the key for me, is it's about knowing when you have enough. And then when you know you have enough, how can you make sure you are enjoying things along the way, but also still making sure you're going to be okay if you, live to 100 or if you have a major medical event. And I think what's unique about my perspective is I work with affluent retirees. Most of my clients have well over $1 million saved. But that's not money that fell into their lap. They've been good savers. They worked hard and they are self-made, most of them. And they got where they are because they were good savers. And so for them, a lot of times it's hard for them to start spending their money. And I think one of the other criticisms is people say, well, how do you know when you have enough? Like that's kind of a vague idea of, oh yeah, great, Amy, it's great to spend our money if we know we have enough, but how do we know? And that's, I think, the thing that I can help with the most is, part of the planning process that we use at Sensible Money with our clients is it's a very thorough, comprehensive planning process. Could get into the weeds, of course, but, at a high level, our planning process, we have 3 distinct metrics that we look at with clients. I think we've done different videos on these before, but we look at something called a critical path and something called fundedness, something called Monte Carlo. They're 3 tests that all evaluate something different, but we use those tests to be able to see how solid somebody's financial situation is. And what I see time and time again is when all 3 of those metrics are really strong, that gives me the confidence to help my clients spend their money. And, I often say to them, one of my biggest fears is not that they're going to run out of money, but a bigger fear is that they're going to sit down with me when they are 90 and they're going to say, Amy, why do I have all this money left? I wanted to know 30 years ago. And so that's what Die with Zero really is. It's doing the math, putting in the work, having a solid financial plan. And then once you see the numbers are solid, taking kind of that sigh of relief and going out and doing the things that make you happy.
All right. And we've covered a lot of ground. Anything we missed or just bears reemphasizing?
I don't think so. I think we covered it all. And I think it's a great book for anybody to read, whether they're in the retirement phase of life or, on the far other end of the spectrum. It's just a really good reminder that, life is worth living. So go out and enjoy it.